Welcome, everybody, to another week, another episode of the Hoosier Life. A lot going on. Like we talked about last week, it is the most wonderful time of the year, perhaps second only to March, unless you want to put it toe-to-toe. We got a lot going on in the sports world. We're here to talk to you about it. We're going to hit everything we talked about last week and then some. We've got a great top five segment for you at the end. That will be sure to get a lot of debate, a lot of talk going, so be sure to stay tuned for that. Tweet in at us at the Hoosier Life, or you can tweet at our handles right below our names down here. It's going to be a great show. I'm very excited. Josh, what do you say? Let's get going.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be a good show.
Absolutely. All right. So we're going to actually start out with Copa America this week. It's a big deal. The U.S., didn't really show up against Colombia, took the 2-0 loss. But then out of nowhere, they blew Costa Rica out of the water 4-0. Dempsey scored a goal, the team captain, the guy that they've kind of been leaning on. As of late, I know a lot of guys, Colin Cowherd included, don't like the fact that we're leaning on this old Clint Dempsey, and he wants to see more young guys come up. But nevertheless, he scored, and then three other guys scored. I think Graham Zusi had another one. Then they won 4-0 against a very, very solid and accomplished Costa Rica team. So, Josh, first off, I'm going to ask you, what were your thoughts of that game if you saw it? And what are your thoughts on the tournament so far as a whole? What do you see from a couple teams, and what do you see from the U.S. that could potentially spark a run?
I'll talk about that Costa Rica game. I watched the first half of that, and that's really all you needed to watch because at halftime they were up 3-0. You had that Clint Dempsey PK. That's for his 50th goal for the U.S. men's national team, which is a pretty big accomplishment there. Then Bobby Wood finally gets on it was Jermaine Jones slotting it in the bottom right-hand corner. A great feed from Clint Dempsey. He got him up 2-0, and then Bobby Wood gets the third, and then Graham Zusi at the end. But it was a great team performance. I think they didn't have more possession in the game, but they still had 4 goals. So I guess it's kind of like the Oregon Ducks style of offense where you don't need to have a lot of time of possession, but you still score a lot of points, and that's exactly what the U.S. did. And I'm really kind of liking how it's shaping up going into this Paraguay match. Paraguay, they got a draw against Costa Rica. They've lost against Colombia, so now coming back to this one, U.S. and Paraguay, the U.S. is going to need a win to kind of feel good about going in, and if they do get a win, I believe they go forward. And when they go forward, or if they go forward into the quarterfinals, it'll probably be against Brazil, so that's going to be a stern test. And according to FIFA, the U.S. is 31st, Paraguay 44th. Thank you for that, Michael. So it should be an interesting matchup there. But just some other Copa America teams that kind of have sparked my eye. Mexico, they've looked really good against Uruguay the other day. And I think they're kind of a dark horse team. And then obviously Argentina, they didn't have Messi or Aguero start the game, and they still won, I believe it was 2-0 against Chile the other day. So it's been a fun tournament so far, and a lot more fun games are coming up on the horizon.
Absolutely, and a lot of things could happen for the U.S. I typed out 3 scenarios that are all very wordy, so I'm going to try and briefly read through them and kind of explain them to you. So they can win their group. It is not out of the question that they can win Group A. And if they do so, they'll play the runner-up of Group B, which will either be Brazil, Peru, or Ecuador. Haiti has basically been eliminated from that. So it all depends on Ecuador plays Haiti for their last game. Brazil and Peru play each other. It really all depends what happens in those 2 games. A lot of different combinations. I won't waste your time on that. You can look at it if you're curious. Or they can get the runner-up in their group and play the winner of Group B, which is likely going to be the winner of Brazil and Peru. Or they can miss out on all of it with a loss to Paraguay. Like Josh said, U.S. is 31st in the world and Paraguay 44th. Obviously, a lot of confidence on the U.S. side after that enormous 4-0 victory over Costa Rica. But still not out of the question. There's a lot of question marks. This team is not exactly steady. They don't have the full team they had for the World Cup a couple of years ago. They're not as many weapons. Certainly not as confident after that disappointing performance against Colombia. But if they get the win against Paraguay, they should be on to the next round. And then it's just a matter of who they play. But Josh, you have a couple games that you're going to go see up in Seattle in the next week or so. How you feeling about those? What are the teams, and what do you expect to see?
So on Saturday, we got to see Peru and Haiti, and while that doesn't sound like a fantastic matchup, it wasn't really the best game of soccer ever, but Peru got a 1-0 win over Haiti. But this Haiti team is kind of a cool story. They're playing in a big tournament for I believe just the second time ever, I want to say, on kind of a national stage, because they played in the Gold Cup last summer. That was also in the U.S. But now they're playing in Copa America Centenario as just one of, I believe, 6 CONCACAF teams. So that's kind of a cool story for them. They've kind of grown up seeing Brazil play and kind of looking up to Brazil. And then they played them last night, which is really cool for them, even though they lost 7-1, which is not a great scoreline, but at least they got on the board. But next week, Argentina and Bolivia play here in Seattle, so that's going to be really exciting to see. Hopefully Lionel Messi. If not, we'll see Di Maria and hopefully Aguero. And then on Thursday, it's a quarterfinal match. It could be the U.S. if they win their group, or it'll probably be Colombia against one of those second-place teams in Group B. But pretty good soccer all around the country. I mean, it's good. It's too bad these stadiums aren't quite all the way full, but it's still fun to watch on TV and have it be right in your backyard.
Absolutely. You got games up in Seattle. I've got games here in Chicago. 2 have been played already. 1 tomorrow. I believe it's Argentina. And then we've got a semifinal game on the 22nd. I'll be there, and we'll definitely talk about it if the U.S. were to make it there, which is not out of the question. They win their group, they win the next game, or they runner-up in their group, and then they win that next game. They're in the semis, and then that's 2 games away from the Copa America Championship. But that's a long ways away, and we're gonna keep you guys posted with that because it's a lot of fun. I mean, it's local soccer, and it's some of the best teams in the world. You know, South America is absolutely rich when it comes to soccer. Got our Patriots, United States in it, and then a bunch of other teams that are fully capable of making it interesting as well. So we'll keep you posted throughout the week on Twitter and on our shows until the tournament wraps up. But it's great fun. If you haven't watched the game yet, you absolutely should. It's top-tier soccer. You can't get it anywhere else unless you want to wait for the Olympics or the World Cup in 2 more years. But I highly recommend watching this. It's great fun. And go to a game if you're near a major city that's hosting one. Can't wait to be there. Josh has already been. He's going to more. That should say it right there. But we're going to move on to probably the most interesting story in sports right now is the NBA Finals. Because what on earth happened last night? I tried to put my finger on it. I was watching it, and I'm thinking to myself, how are Josh and I going to analyze this tomorrow? And really the only thing I could think of, Josh, was the Warriors last night turned into the Cavaliers of the past 2 games. And I don't really know what else to say past that because the Warriors, quite simply, there's that phone, 3rd week in a row. I was waiting for it, and there it is. I completely lost my train of thought. Whoever's calling me, I'm going to have to word with you after this. But the Warriors did not show up, and there's nothing else really to say. Draymond Green wasn't spectacular. Steph Curry wasn't great. Tristan Thompson absolutely manhandled the Warriors in every essay. He had 7 offensive boards. He was 5 for 6 from the field. He went to the free throw line. He knocked down most of his free throws. When he's hitting his free throws, you need to panic because when Tristan Thompson is going to the line and hitting both free throws, it's time to panic. And I don't know how exactly the Warriors can adjust to that because Bogut came in and he got schooled. When they went small, when the Warriors went small to try and chip away at that lead, which they did, by the way, they couldn't box out. I don't know what they were doing. They were looking too much, I guess, too forward into getting back in transition and scoring quick points that they didn't worry about rebounding. They completely forgot. But I got a couple things to say on this. But, Josh, let's get your initial reaction. What happened last night?
I think LeBron James happened last night, and he really came to play last night, and really Steph Curry and Klay Thompson did not. Steph had 2 points at halftime with 3 fouls. Going up against Kyrie Irving, not a good matchup for him because Kyrie Irving really took him to school last night. Kyrie had 30 points, LeBron had 32. Kyrie Irving just really came to play. I thought that was a big key in that game. You know LeBron is going to get his probably around 30-ish points a game in the finals. But then it was kind of role players. J.R. Smith came up. He had some big points. But then Kyrie Irving, I just really like the way this guy plays when he's on top of his game. And against Steph Curry last night, who wasn't really up for playing a lot of defense because he was in foul trouble, he played a great game. And I really just don't know how to analyze this series because of the point discrepancy that we've seen so far. Maybe it's just going to be both teams hold court at home and this goes 7 games and the Warriors win it at home, or is somebody going to come up with a big road win? But if the Warriors are going to get a game in Cleveland, Steph Curry cannot have 2 points at halftime. Just not that's not allowed.
Yeah, and Cleveland, the move I liked, and I've always been high on this guy, is Cleveland put in Timofey Mozgov earlier last night than they had in the first 2 games. And I thought last year in the playoffs he was an X factor. I think he was pretty much the reason they got by the Bulls in 6, because the Bulls played them in 5 close games. 2 games, 3 and 4 came down to the buzzer. And Timofey Mozgov was the X factor in that series and basically wore out the Bulls to end it in 6. And he got them, I wouldn't say he got them past the Hawks because they swept them, but he kept them in that series as much as a Timofey Mozgov possibly could, when LeBron James was dropping 45 night in and night out with everyone else on the bench. But Timofey Mozgov is going to be an X factor because if he and Tristan Thompson are both on the floor, Golden State cannot afford to put 2 big men in the game. If they want to throw in Bogut and Festus Ezeli, they're not going to score enough points, and they're certainly not going to get enough rebounds to keep up with Cleveland. And when Cleveland's got their home fans behind them and their shots are falling, there's almost nothing Golden State can do. So really, they just need to shoot well. They need to close out when these guys are taking the shots behind the arc, and they need to hit their shots. It's that simple. They aren't doing that, and that's what happened in games 1 through 5, really, 1 through 4, against Oklahoma City. And then they suddenly turned it around. They played with a chip on their shoulder. They boxed out. They got rebounds. They closed out on open looks, and they capitalized when Oklahoma City had a turnover and missed a shot. And that's one more thing that I want to end on for this part of the conversation that I noticed last night. In the second quarter, the Warriors had a chance really to tie that game. And they just didn't. They had a chance to make it a game. They had a chance to tie it. It was 7 or 8 points. I can't quite remember. And Cleveland just could not hit the side of a barn with their shots. They were missing everything. And then Golden State just forgot to rebound the ball. It hit the floor, and everyone was breaking out in transition and just rolling to Tristan Thompson, and he'd slam it home. Cleveland couldn't make a shot. Golden State wouldn't get the rebound. They would force bad and quick shots when they did get the rebound down in transition, and they just gave up those bogus second chance points. If they grabbed one more rebound, had one more box out, made one more pass on a possession, and hit one more 3 that they didn't when they were open, we're looking at a 1-point game. And then who knows what happens. Cleveland calls a timeout, makes some adjustments. If Golden State keeps hitting shots, this could be a 3-0 series. I think the game ended right then and there. They just didn't show up. I mean, that's all really I have to say. I can analyze anything I want, but the bottom line is when opportunity knocked, they weren't ready. They didn't crash. They didn't hit their shots. They didn't play defense. They did not show up at all.
Yeah, and that was kind of right from the opening tip. I think it was 6-0 that Cleveland got out in front. I was thinking to myself, I guess that's just 2 possessions for Golden State, but then just kept getting more and more. And then they finally did come back, like you said. They just couldn't hit that one shot to kind of narrow the margin to kind of get Cleveland scared again. But one guy I want to point out for a name drop is Richard Jefferson, stepping in for Kevin Love, who's out with a concussion. 9 points, 8 rebounds, and this guy is towards the end of his career. Great job by Richard Jefferson, not trying to do too much. He did what he needed to do, scored 9 points, got 8 rebounds. That's a double-double for a guy that I didn't even think was still in the league a couple months ago. But this guy's getting it done in the NBA Finals. So, good for him, and he helped his team get a big win last night, even if he didn't really do it in the points category, but he was there for 8 key rebounds and 9 key points, and sometimes that's the difference in a game. And Richard Jefferson just really kind of proven his worth right now while Kevin Love is out.
And another guy I want to name drop, thanks for bringing this up, is Channing Frye. And you look across the box score, you look at his numbers. He played 12 minutes, no field goal attempts, no free throw attempts, no rebounds, no assists, no steals. He had 3 fouls and a block. And if what you can assume based off that box score is exactly how he plays. He goes in the game, he's an instigator, he's scrappy, and he plays physical. And he's basically in there to get inside Golden State's head. He's not in there to score 12 points and get 8 boards. He's in there to get inside Golden State's head. He's setting some hard screens. I'm not going to call him a dirty player, but he is the most physical guy on the floor. And he's in there, kind of like a hockey player would be to instigate a fight, a John Scott of the NBA for any hockey fans out there. But no, he's out there and he's setting the tone physically, and Cleveland feeds off his energy. And he didn't hit any threes last night. That's what they've been using him for. But Cleveland feeds off his energy, and he's out there to set a physical tone to the game. So I think Golden State just, honestly, when it comes down to it, they have to box out and hit their shots. That's all. It seems too fundamental for a team that won 73 games, but that's really all it is. You look at their field goal percentage. They shot 42% compared to Cleveland's 53%, and they got out-rebounded 60-41. And it's not like Cleveland has 3 7-footers. They just boxed out, and Golden State didn't. That's all it comes down to. They are 2 fixes away from ending this in 5. I still believe they can come back and win the next game by double digits. I don't know if they will, but all they have to do is box out and hit their shots. That's all it is.
No, I completely agree, and that starts with Steph Curry. He had 2 points at halftime. Just that cannot happen, and he's kind of just disappeared in this NBA Finals. He has, I think, through 3 games, 48 points or something like that. I didn't maybe remember the stat exactly correct, but he's just not the same Steph Curry that we saw towards the end of that Thunder series or even in the regular season. He's just not showing up. I don't know if there's something up with him injury-wise. I don't want to speculate, but he's just not the same, and maybe that's just kudos to the Cavs for locking him down, locking him and Klay down, and making other players beat them. But we saw that in Game 2 where Draymond Green can come up huge, while Steph Curry doesn't need to have that big game. So if Steph Curry's not going to have these big games, it's on Harrison Barnes, Andre Iguodala, Draymond Green, and some other guys off the bench to kind of step up and prove their worth on this team, because I guess Steph Curry is the MVP, but he can only take you so far. He can't do it all by himself like a LeBron James can, because Steph Curry just isn't the same physical creature as LeBron James. So it's up to his teammates to kind of to help him out. Steph can only do so much. You need help from your friends, and that's what the Warriors are going to need in this series.
Yeah, and you say speculating an injury. We don't want to do that, but people were saying that, in that Oklahoma City series when they were down 3-1, and then he came back and he played well in Game 5, and then Game 6, and then Game 7. So who knows what's going on right now, but they know exactly the position they're in. I don't know if they're getting too confident, because it's very easy to get confident when you just came back from down 3-1 and you won a Game 5 on the road. I'd be confident too. But honestly, I think they're in the position where Game 4 is a must-win. It's a must-win. Everyone was calling for Cleveland's head. They were saying it's over after Game 2. They win Game 3, and now Game 4 is a must-win for the Warriors. Josh, am I wrong?
I don't know. I'm not sure, because I think this home court advantage in this series, it's just been so drastic that we've seen this point discrepancy. And I don't know if maybe this is just going to be both teams hold court at home, and it ends up with the Warriors in Game 7, and that's just how it ends. But I wouldn't necessarily call this a must-win, just because the first 2 kind of back and forth in this series with the 2 games in Golden State and then the 2 games in Cleveland, I could see them trading off. But once it gets to Game 5, I think the winner of Game 5 ends up winning the series, and that game is in Oakland at Oracle Arena. So I don't think I'd call Game 4 a must-win, but Game 5 is a must-win for kind of both teams, because whoever wins Game 5 and gets that 3rd win, you just got to win one of the next 2, while the next team has to win 2 in a row. So I don't think Game 4 is a must-win, but Game 5 is a must-win for whoever kind of wants to win this series. It's just who wants to come to play in Game 5.
Yeah, and Game 5 is pretty much the universal must-win game for teams in these series. But I'm a believer in Game 3, really, because if you're down 2-0 and you win Game 3 like Cleveland did last night, all of a sudden, this is a series. And people are still saying Cleveland could win this in 7, and it's not out of the question. And if you're tied 1-1, obviously you win that game, you take the 2-1 lead. If you're up 2-0 and you win, you take the 3-0 series lead, there's no looking back. So Game 3 is a turning point, and I think Game 4 is just as important, and then Game 5 is a whole separate beast. But Games 3 and 4, I think, are overlooked, because Game 3 decides the series. It really does in every possible scenario. It's either 2-0 or 1-1 going into Game 3. And Cleveland made it a series last night. They were either going to go home and likely get swept, or they were going to make this a series that can go to 6, maybe 7 games. And that's exactly what we're looking at because of one man, LeBron James. And that's all there is to it. LeBron knows he's been in this league for 13 years. He knows exactly what to expect. Steph Curry is not that old. Klay Thompson is not that old. The only guy they have that's got the experience is Andre Iguodala. Maybe Sean Livingston, but he doesn't quite have that playoff experience. It's Andre Iguodala. He's been the leader of a team. He won a Finals MVP. And the thing is, they can't lean on him because he's coming off the bench. He was a Finals MVP. He is an X Factor. He's the best defender on that team. But they can't lean on him because he can't score, and he can't keep up with Cleveland. So the pressure is on. The pressure is on the Warriors right now. The Cavs are just playing loose. They're playing free. They're hitting their shots. If the Warriors want to win this game, Steph Curry needs to take over Game 4. no excuses. He doesn't, they don't win, and they're in a lot of trouble.
I agree with you, but you know what's really funny is that you and I got the same amount of first place MVP votes as LeBron James, which just comes to show you what Steph Curry did in the regular season and just kind of what he hasn't done in the NBA Finals, because he's completely disappeared. And like you were saying, if they don't show up for this game, they are in big trouble, because you had that momentum at the beginning of the series, but that momentum can only take you so far, and now the Cavs are kind of starting to regain that. And if they can have that momentum for the back half of this series, the Warriors are in big trouble. So it's on Steph Curry, it's on Klay Thompson to start hitting their shots, because this is a do-or-die team basically from the three. And I was just thinking in my head throughout the entire season, what if one game, one series, they just don't hit their shots? They're done, and that's just kind of what this team is living off of. So I guess we'll kind of see what happens coming up here.
Yeah, and here's the one thing that I'm going to say in terms of why we're not going to go ahead and predict what's going to happen, because last series, Golden State just wasn't hitting their shots. They weren't boxing out Oklahoma City. And all of a sudden, Game 5 happens, and they do it, and they win 3 straight. Cleveland looks as dead can be in Games 1 and 2, and they're done. Everyone says they're done. They can't do anything. They can't hit shots. They can't box out. They can't stop the Warriors. And what do they do in Game 3? The same things that they couldn't do to save their lives in Games 1 and 2. So far, the conference finals and the NBA finals have just been – and it even happened in the Eastern Conference finals with Toronto. They just came to life and then died again. But so far, the last round of the playoffs and the NBA finals have basically come down to teams being incompetent and then suddenly turning it around in just an unpredictable fashion. I mean, the only way you can predict it is just say they're going to turn it around. I mean, that's the only thing you do. It's just complete luck in terms of, looking forward at what's going to happen if you're on the outside looking in. So whatever happens, happens. All I can say is what Golden State needs to change. And from last night, it was everything. They couldn't score. They couldn't box out. And that's it right there. If they change those two, I think they win Game 4. But they really need to show up to play, because that was 90% of the issue. LeBron James came to play, and the Warriors didn't. That's all it was.
Yeah, and I don't think you can win a championship without playing defense. You know that saying, defense wins championships? Well, it kind of proved itself last night, because the Warriors still scored 90 points, but they didn't play any defense, gave up 120. So at that point, you really just got to step up on defense and get it done. That's just what it comes down to. Defense wins championships. Play some defense. Steph Curry, even though he's in foul trouble, step up, play defense. If your teammates are there and you're playing good team defense, you're not going to have 3 fouls because you're playing good team defense. So and that's what it comes down to. Both these teams, maybe not the best defensive teams, but players like Andre Iguodala and Iman Shumpert are 2 big players in the series, because they are probably the best defenders on each team. So those are going to be 2 X factors kind of looking forward in the series. Definitely.
And I'm going to ask you this before we move on, unless you want to get to something else. Who wins Game 4? And did you have the Cavs in 6 when we were previewing this series?
Yeah, I had the Cavs in 6.
Okay. I'm guessing you still don't have them in 6, because that would mean they'd have to win 3 straight. Do you?
I don't have them in 6 right now. I just believe this is going to be a 7-game series just because of this home court advantage thing going on. So, I mean, but winner of Game 4, I think, is going to be the Cavs. I do think they're going to tie this up at 2-2. They're at home. They're feeling good coming off this win. But I don't think it's going to be a 30-point game. I think this is going to be below 10 points. It's going to be a close game to the end. And somebody's going to hit a big shot coming down the stretch. But I don't think we're going to see a big blowout like we have in Games 2 and 3.
I disagree with you. I think right now Golden State is just lost. And after last night, the Cavs made – and the reason I think it could be ugly again is the Cavs made these tactical moves and these changes that Tyronn Lue made, and much credit to him, that pretty much caught the Warriors off guard. And they haven't really had a situation under Steve Kerr in the past year, maybe even 2 years, where, they kind of got out-coached and schooled for that matter. And I don't know if they're going to adjust well. And we'll see. Maybe they will. Steve Kerr was the coach of the year. Steph's the MVP, unanimous MVP. They've got an experienced team, and they came back from down 2-1 last year in a series to come back and then obviously win the title, and they did it in the NBA Finals as well. But they've never faced a team like Cleveland, and this Cleveland team, because last year's Cleveland team was a separate beast. It was LeBron and role players. This time they have Kyrie, and they might get Kevin Love back. We'll see. But this time they've got Kyrie, and it's a different beast, this Cleveland team. So if they can adjust, because I expect Timofey Mozgov to come off the bench again, and I expect Tristan Thompson to come out guns a-blazing. If they can't adjust to what Cleveland did last night tomorrow, they're in a lot of trouble. I don't know what they're going to do to win this series if they can't do it, because right now the ball's in Golden State's court. Cleveland's made the adjustments they need to make to win the game. Can Golden State react? That's all it's going to. That's what it's going to come down to, along with the fundamentals that I talked about earlier. It's those three things right there.
Yeah, I'll say one more thing on this series. I think if Golden State wins Game 4, this is going to be a 5 or 6 game series. But if Cleveland wins, this series is going 7 games, just because Cleveland finally came to play. They went down 2-0 and they said, okay, we're going to bounce back at home and make this a series and win 2 straight. So I think if Golden State can get a win in Game 4, this is going to be a 5 or 6 game series, just because they go back home. And maybe Cleveland steals a game there, but then they come back and Cleveland's in a huge hole. But if Cleveland wins this, I don't see how this can't go 7 games, because both teams are so evenly matched, especially, I wouldn't say evenly matched, but I'd say they're just holding court at home, and that's what it comes down to in these series.
I was on mute there for a second. And the reason these games are so lopsided is because one team trumps the other in almost every facet of the game in almost every position group. So whatever position group shows up, or whatever 2 players show up, that team's going to win. But I agree with you. If Golden State wins tomorrow, it's over in 5. There's no way they lose Game 5. I just don't see that happening. But if Cleveland wins, I almost don't even know what to say. I mean, there's not much you can analyze if Cleveland wins big tomorrow. I mean, if they win by 3 or 4, yeah, we can talk about that. But if they win by 20, there's really nothing to analyze. It's just, did Golden State show up or not? And if they did, they win. If they didn't, they lost. It's that simple. But I think Cleveland wins by a sizable margin tomorrow. I'll go on the record for saying that. I usually have the kiss of death. Whatever I say usually never happens. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. I think Cleveland's going to win big, but we'll see. That's all I got for this. Josh, you got any final thoughts?
No, I'm just excited for Game 4. It's going to be a very interesting game to see who kind of takes control of this series.
Yeah, it will be taking control of tomorrow night, no matter who wins that. So a lot to talk about with the NBA Finals, and we'll certainly be back next week. Hey, who knows? Maybe this series will be wrapped up by then. Maybe we'll be looking straight at a Game 7, dead in the eyes. We'll see. But a lot of words there about the NBA Finals. Tweet at us. We got our Twitter handles right down here. Or you could tweet at the Hoosier Life what you think right now when you're listening. If you're watching live, hit us up right now. Hit us up whenever. We're here to answer any questions you guys have about anything. And the finals are hot right now, so let us know. But right now we're going to move on to our What to Watch For segment in preparation for our big top 5 that is promised to be a lot of fun, so stay tuned. Stanley Cup Finals Game 5 tonight. Not a lot of people know what's going on because the NBA Finals are going crazy right now, but the Penguins are up 3-1, and they could wrap it up at home. Sidney Crosby could get himself another cup. Puck drops at 8 p.m. Eastern. Be sure to tune into that. It's great hockey. San Jose is going to play with their backs against the wall, and they've got the weapons to do it. Be sure to tune into that. Copa America continues today. Mexico versus Jamaica tonight, and that's the late game, I think. And then Uruguay versus Venezuela also tonight. I believe 6:30. Not 100% sure. Don't write me down. Both games are tonight. Both games will be great fun. Josh, what do you got?
So kind of piggybacking off that soccer, Euro 2016 starts this weekend. That's going to be very big on on Saturday, Sunday, Monday. 15 straight hours of soccer. Got the Euros on ESPN. You got the Copa America on Fox Network. So a lot of soccer. If you're into soccer, I don't think you're going to be going out too much this weekend because there's a lot on TV. Then also some big series in baseball this weekend. Haven't talked a whole lot of baseball, but want to get that in there. So we got the Mariners and the Rangers, top 2 teams in the AL West. That's a big series this weekend. Rangers swept the Mariners last weekend, so Mariners looking for some revenge. They're getting their center fielder, Leonis Martin, back, so that could be big. They just got their shortstop back this week as well, Ketel Marte. So the Mariners trying to kind of close that gap in the AL West. Also in the NL West, Giants-Dodgers, rivalry game, so that's always exciting. Top 2 teams in the NL West there. The Giants are leading, but they're hit by the injury bug right now, so the Dodgers trying to close that gap a little bit. And then the Cardinals and Pirates, that's kind of just the race for the wild card right now because the Cubs are running away with the NL Central. So whoever can kind of take control of that series could get a stranglehold on that number 2 spot in the NL Central, which probably has the inside track to the wild card spot for that division, because I would assume that the Mets or the Nationals will get one of the other spots. So it'll be an interesting kind of fight there between those two NL Central teams, and that's a big series this weekend in baseball as well.
That's going to be a season-long race for that wild card, because you look at the leaders of the division. You got the Giants, the Cubs, the Nationals. The Cubs, despite a disaster, are probably going to win their division. Nationals are not a lock, right behind them, the Mets, and the Giants are not a lock, right behind them, the Dodgers. So, I mean, that's going to be a race. And then, like you said, Cardinals, Pirates, just a game. The Pirates are tied with the Mets and the Dodgers, and the Cardinals just a game behind them. It's going to be a season-long race in the NL. How top-heavy is this National League right now? It's fun to watch, and come September, it's going to be intense.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, just it's like you said, it's really top-heavy right now, and it's just really who can kind of slot in just below them and maybe make some noise like the Cubs did last year in the wild card. Maybe that's a place for the Pirates to step up, but I don't know if the Cardinals have necessarily the tools this year, just because they've been injured and they just haven't been the same Cardinals as we've seen in years past.
Yeah, but nonetheless, still a great franchise, one of the top franchises in sports, if you ask me, very consistent. But like we said, going to be a great race through the National League, really from now till October. So if a National League game is on, if any game is on, I mean, baseball season's in full swing, be sure to tune in. That's a lot of stuff going on in the next 7 days. Stanley Cup could end tonight. Copa America's getting hot. Euro 2016. A lot of great soccer going on. If you're not into it, now is the time to get into it. And if you are into it, it's the best time of year. I'm telling you, Josh, June right now could make a case against March of any year. I'm serious when I say that.
No, I agree. And then also, I forgot the Belmont Stakes this weekend too. So if you're into horse racing, you got that too. There's just so much on. And the College World Series starts next week. You got Super Regionals this week. I was watching college baseball all of last weekend. So much baseball on, so much soccer. There's just so much on right now. It's really a good time of year.
Yeah, and the Women's College World Series just wrapped up last night. Oklahoma beat Auburn in what was an incredible series. Auburn was down 7-0, I believe, in Game 2. They play a best-of-3 series. Auburn was down, I think, 7-0, and Tiffany Howard hit a walk-off grand slam to win 11-7. I think that was to cap off an 11-0 run. I'm 99% sure they were down 7-0. If that's not great TV, I really don't know what is. So, I mean, there is more stuff going on right now to kind of get us ready for the Olympics in August than anything I can ever remember. I feel like this is just such an eventful time of year, and I absolutely love it.
Oh, it's fantastic. And I forgot to mention the U.S. Opens next week also. There's so much going on right now. So, I mean, if the weather's not nice like it is here in Seattle, then stay inside, watch some good sports.
Absolutely, and it's not looking too nice out here in Chicago. We got the rain falling, so me and a lot of my 6 million best friends will be watching sports for the next 7 days. And then Wimbledon's not too far either. And Rafa Nadal actually just announced he won't play. Tiger also said he's not ready for the U.S. Open, so I'm rooting for Tiger to get back, but we'll get to that later. But yeah, U.S. Open coming up, Wimbledon not too far around the corner. A lot of soccer, a lot of basketball, a lot of hockey, a lot of baseball. I'm telling you, the more we talk about it, the more excited I get. But speaking of excitement, the much-awaited Top 5 segment. Josh, we were doing this, kind of late last night. We were talking about it, and I was getting ready for it. And I was thinking to myself, this is going to be the best one maybe we ever have. I was having fun with myself just coming up with my Top 5. So without further ado, and Josh, we're definitely going to take this one at a time. I'll go 5, you go 5, I'll go 4, you go 4, etc. Without further ado, this week's Top 5 segment is our top 5 favorite ballpark food items. And this is open for interpretation. If you want to just stick to the basics, Cracker Jack, peanuts, Coke, whatever you want, do it. If you have something specific at a random ballpark and wherever, do that too. So Josh, I think, veered more towards towards that second option. I stuck with the more traditional route, which is not as exciting, but to me it's a safer bet. So Josh, you want to start this off, or should I?
I'll take this one first. And I'll see what you got. So first up, I got ice cream. Any type of ice cream. At Safeco Field, you got Dippin' Dots, you got soft serve ice cream, you got regular ice cream. There's so many food options that are offered around ballparks, and ice cream is right up there. But one specific ice cream item I have had was at Chase Field in Arizona. They got this churro dog, and this is just a heart attack in a little dish. You got a donut opened up. You got a churro in there, and then you got ice cream on top. And I'm telling you, this is a mess, but it is so good. And if you're in Arizona, you've got to try this out. It's just one of those things that gets you, and it is so good. So my number 5 is ice cream, but then with an example of that churro dog in Arizona. Cannot be missed if you go.
First of all, that cannot possibly be FDA approved. Second of all, and when we're talking at a baseball game, aside from getting hit by a line drive, there is nothing more horrifying to me than Dippin' Dots. I can't wrap my head around just I just can't do it. There's nothing appealing to me about it. If you have a Dippin' Dots stand next to whatever ice cream, I'm not even a huge fan of vanilla ice cream, but if you put hot fudge on there, I will take that and be the happiest camper out there over a thing of Dippin' Dots. I just can't get into it. I feel like that is absolutely something that is hit or miss, but I can't get sold on Dippin' Dots. I just can't do it.
I don't know. Dippin' Dots are just kind of my go-to kind of ice cream. If it's a warm if it's a warm day, I don't know. Dippin' Dots just they're so cool in your mouth because they're just little dots. I don't know. It's fun. It's fun.
It's fun. I'll give you that. They kind of melt and mold in your mouth, but it's just the whole idea creeps me out, really, for lack of a better term. So it's safe to say that's not my number 5, 4, 3, 2, or number 1. Let me just say this before I get going. Bart Kaufman at IU, here's your Bloomington connection, has a great food selection, and it's not that expensive. I went to a game late in April with my friends. They played Northwestern. It was, first of all, a great game and a fantastic atmosphere. I highly recommend getting out there if you're in the Bloomington area at some point for a game next year. But their food selection's off the charts, and it ties well into this segment. So it's a fantastic experience for a college baseball game out at Bart Kaufman. But coming in at number 5 for me, and I'm embarrassed to say this really, it's popcorn. And I can't believe that just came out of my mouth. But for whatever reason, whenever I'm up at a stand and I see popcorn, a lot of the time, more times than not, sadly, I convince myself to get it. I wish I could stop, and I'm never happy with it in the end, but I always do it. And right now I'm in the process, and it's long, but I'm in the long process of breaking up with popcorn at a baseball, football, basketball game. It's going to be difficult, I'm telling you, because it is my favorite snack. But I just, at a ballpark, I just can't do it. It's too salty. I'm never happy. I have to buy 2 water bottles. It's my number 5 because I'm just so attached to it. In a month from now, I'm hoping that it'll be off the list. But right now, my number 5 is popcorn.
You know, it's never a bad choice because if you get that big bowl, you can always go back and get it refilled for free. So I mean, I guess that's okay right there. But my number 4 is a bratwurst. You can't go wrong with a bratwurst. It's a little bit different than a hot dog. I feel like it's just kind of a higher class hot dog almost.
We lost him there for a second. Hopefully he comes back soon. But yeah, no, definitely Josh right there. I don't know if you can hear me or not, but hopefully we get you back soon. But no, a bratwurst, absolutely. That's huge in Chicago. I'm personally not a huge fan. It's got a different taste than a hot dog. But no, it's definitely popular here. You can put whatever you want on. If you want ketchup, that's fine. You know, that's allowed here in Chicago, believe it or not. Mustard, onions are huge. A bratwurst, it's out there. It's off the grid a little bit. But definitely an aggressive play, but it definitely pays off. So still no Josh, as you can see, he's still frozen down there. We're going to work on getting him back as best we can, but there's only so much we can do here. We just got to test out the Wi-Fi connection. So for now, just to, take some time away. Here he is. We still have you? You there, Josh?
Yeah, I'm there.
There he is. All right, we lost you for a second. He's back. I was just filling time. I was selling the bratwurst to the audience.
Okay, thank you for that.
Where were you? Continue.
Yeah, so at Safeco Field, they got the bratwurst, you got the onions, the sauerkraut, the banana peppers, really good. If you're at a ballpark and you have a chance to have a bratwurst, always good. If you're of age, probably have it with a beer because I'm sure that goes well. I wouldn't know.
Absolutely. Now, like I said, you didn't hear it, but everyone else did. People in Chicago love the bratwurst. I personally don't, but it's a huge hit here, almost as popular as the hot dog. It's a big thing. Acquired taste for sure, but definitely a safe bet. It's a big piece of meat too, so it's a mouthful. It's more than a hot dog, but it's definitely a good play. My number 4, and I just think it's a solid play every time, is peanuts in the bag, salted. And Josh, tell me if I'm weird for this, but I eat the shell. I put the whole thing in my mouth and eat it. Is that a no-go?
That is a big no-go. You got to crack it open, get the whole pleasure of cracking it open and put it in your mouth and throwing the peanuts on the ground. That's just me.
I'll tell you what, I don't eat it every time, but I would say of every 10 peanuts I pull out of the bag, I'll eat 8 with the shell on. And I don't know why. I love salt, and I can't get enough of it. So it's a problem. I'm working on it, trust me, hence the breakup with the popcorn. But I can't get my fix if it's just the nuts, inside the shell. I put the whole shell, and you get the crunch. It's a different crunch with the nut and the shell. You get that salt. It's good. Trust me, if you haven't done it, be careful, first of all, because it can get stuck in your throat, but it's easy to work down. But I go peanuts with the shell at my number 4.
All right. That's interesting there, because peanuts are my number 3. Whenever you go to a ball game, got to get peanuts, but you can't get the peanuts in just the regular plastic bags. You got to get the hot roasted peanuts that at Safeco Field, they're at least wrapped in like a paper bag, so they stay nice and warm. And best part of when you get the peanuts at Safeco Field, this guy, we always find the same vendor who comes around to the seats. He throws it behind his back across the section. It's always really exciting. So peanuts, my number 3, but you got to get the hot roasted ones if you can. Don't get the ones in the bag, because when they're hot, they're better.
All right, I like that a lot. My number 3, and this is a wild card, but hear me out. I don't know if they do this at every ballpark. I feel like they probably do, but it's a big chocolate chip cookie. And I'm a sweet tooth. I'll go out and say it, but you want something sweet, what are you going to go for? Ice cream, it's got to be good weather. Popcorn, salt. Nachos, salt. Chips, salt. Cracker Jacks, to me, a little overrated. The caramel corn overpowers the nuts by a dangerous amount to me. I would like a lot more nuts and a lot less popcorn. It's not quite sweet. It's just straight crunchy sugar. And if you give me a bag that's half and half, now we're talking top 3 material. Nice blend of salty, sweet, and savory, but it's not enough for top 2. For now, give me the big chocolate chip cookie. I'll eat it easily. I'll enjoy it. I'll have an ice-cold water bottle. That'll go well with it. And I'll get that sugar pumping through my veins for the final 3 innings of the game, and then my sweet tooth is satisfied. So the big chocolate chip cookie, coming in at number 3.
Always a safe bet. You can never go wrong with a chocolate chip cookie, no matter where you get it. I haven't really found a good place at Safeco to get it, but I've seen it at other ballparks. Can't go wrong with a chocolate chip cookie. But for my number 2, something you can never, ever, ever go wrong with at a baseball game is a hot dog. And I can't believe this isn't number 1, but a hot dog is just it's baseball right there. It's America. It's baseball. It's great. If you go to a Dodger game, I went to Dodger spring training, got Dodger dog there. Those are always famous. I didn't really notice anything different. It was just a regular hot dog and a bun, but they called it Dodger dog. So kudos to the Dodgers right there. But any sort of hot dog. I know in Texas at Arlington, I've not been there, but they have a 1-foot hot dog. This is only in Texas. 1-foot hot dog. I think they got pork on it. They got jalapenos on it. They got a bunch of just Texas stuff right there. So hot dog coming in at my number 2. Any sort of hot dog will do. I'm not a big ketchup or mustard fan, though, so I'm just going plain hot dog.
When you say plain hot dog, you mean nothing, just hot dog and bun?
Correct.
Wow. Okay.
Just hot dog and bun.
That's straight up. I like that. I respect it. I wouldn't do it, but I respect it. But that crazy dog in Texas, Wrigley Field's got to stand right at the main entrance. That's got these, the chili, cheese, and Frito dog, buffalo chicken dog. It's great. If you're ever in town, if you're in Wrigley, go get it. It's worth your money. My number 2 is a soft pretzel with salt with cheese. You have to get the cheese. The portion is perfectly sized. It's got real salt in front of your eyes instead of that built-in sodium of the nachos. It fills you up so you feel like you're getting bang for your buck because you're already paying a lot of money at a ballpark for food anyway. Fills you up, real salt, and the cheese, whatever it is. If it's an extra $1, $1.50, $1.75, sometimes even $2. I've never seen it, but I'm sure that's a thing somewhere. It really turns the purchase from a bite to eat into a snack. And it completes it. It adds a whole new flavor to it. and it's worth it because you're already going to pay a lot of money. You might as well throw in that extra one to be even more satisfied. So my number 2, soft pretzel with salt with cheese sauce. Absolutely a safe play every time, but you need a water bottle.
Definitely can't go wrong there. But the one thing about the water bottle is that it's like $5, and I hate paying $5 for a water bottle. So you get the water bottle, I guess, once, and then fill it up in the water fountain if that's what you got to do. But now the long-awaited number 1 ballpark food, in my opinion, you said you didn't really like it that much, but I'm going with Cracker Jacks. Cracker Jacks are the way to go. You don't see them anywhere else but a baseball stadium, and that's why they could just complete this list for me. Ballpark food item number 1 is Cracker Jacks. I don't get it every single time, just because I feel like if I get it every single time, it's going to lose its glamour a little bit. But when I do, I always enjoy a nice bag of Cracker Jacks. You get the little prize inside, you get the sticker. Always got to put it on you as a badge of honor right there, is that you had a bag of Cracker Jacks at a baseball game. So that's coming in at number 1, Cracker Jacks.
Let me ask you this. If Cracker Jacks were not dropped and take me out to the ball game and it weren't such a staple for a baseball game, would you enjoy it that much? So what I'm saying is, do you get it purely because you thoroughly enjoyed the snack, or is it because more of like it's kind of like a must-have? So kind of like if you go to New York, you got to see the Empire State Building. Is it kind of like that, or is it you actually enjoy it that much?
No, I mean I really enjoy Cracker Jacks. They're good, although at the bottom of the bag, I cannot have those peanuts that are just down there. I don't like the taste of those, so I always give those to my dad because he enjoys those. But and I don't know, it's just a nice bag of Cracker Jacks. Always does the job.
If you don't like those peanuts, you and I got to get together and we got to make our own Cracker Jack and make a perfect blend of half and half. We got to meet halfway on this because I'd eat only the peanuts if that's what it was. But my number 2, my number 1, you've probably seen this coming for a while. Is the hot dog and I'm getting very specific on this. It's got to have grilled or chopped onions, either one. I'm cool with either one. Mustard, celery salt, and easy relish, but never ever get it from the relish machine. That thing is the worst invention in the food world since candy corn. I can't stand it. It's absolutely terrible. It's to put this in a sports comparison. It is the Oregon football of food items. It gets you excited when you see it. You think big and exciting things are coming to you. You kind of, your hot dog is going to be a little unique. You're all excited. It looks good in Kelly Green, but it never turns out well, and it ends in disappointment. The relish never comes out, and when it does, it's like a shotgun of chopped pickle. It's just a ball of relish at random pockets in your hot dog. So some bites are going to be bare. Some bites are going to just be relished to the max. It's a little inconsistent for me, but if there's relish in a bowl with a spoon and you can put it in yourself, I am all in, and my day has been turned around. If there's just a machine, I'm passing. Never do it. But back to the hot dog, I've never been to a ballpark with bad hot dogs. You've got your carbs in the bun, protein in the dog to pick you up and make you feel a little less unhealthy, more energetic than if you just got a personal pizza, which, by the way, is the worst purchase at any sporting event, in my opinion. And I'll take anyone on in an argument any day of the week that wants to say otherwise. Hot dog number 1, I can't stress it enough. It's just the best food at a ballpark, at any stadium, anywhere.
Can't go wrong with the hot dog. And I love that Oregon Ducks reference right there because I hate the Ducks. Grew up a Washington fan. Can't stand the Ducks. So thank you for that. But a couple honorable mentions. Just want to throw them in there. First of all, kettle corn. If you want to talk about bang for your buck, that is a great purchase because I feel like when you get some other food, it's just you pay so much and it doesn't quite fill you up. But kettle corn, you get in those big bags, and that's always fantastic. And then when you're of age, got to go with a beer at a ball game. I feel like you can't go wrong with that. I haven't had the chance to experience that, so I've got to wait 2 more years and about 13 days. So just waiting for that chance. But, at Safeco Field, I know they have a huge beer selection. I'm sure all around at every ballpark they got some good beer selections. But when I get a chance to have a beer at a ball game, I will take that opportunity right then and there. But those are kind of my 2 honorable mentions that didn't quite make the list.
That's a staple at a ball game. Especially at Wrigley, you can't go anywhere without seeing someone holding a beer. It's just like Cracker Jacks. It's something that you got to do when you're of age. But I'd like to throw one honorable mention out there is nachos. I don't know what it is. It's so American. It just chips and cheese. I I just can't get enough of it. And if you want to pay that extra, whatever, throw the jalapenos on there. It adds a little twist to it. But nachos is a solid honorable mention. It's never really a bad play. It does, it's not the best food for you at a ballpark, but it's good enough for an honorable mention for me.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, there's so many. I mean, I feel like unless you're really trying to reach for something, I feel like you can't go wrong at a ball game because there's just so many options. I know at Safeco Field they have so many options. I'm sure at Wrigley Field they got a lot of options. It's just sometimes it's good to try new things. Like I know at Safeco they got Thai food, they got tacos, they have sushi. Because sushi was actually big when Ichiro played for the Mariners. They had like basically Ichiros. That's what they called them, or Ichi rolls. That's what they called them. It was kind of just a fun play on words, but at the same time they were pretty good. And you got all that local food from I'm sure in San Francisco they got seafood, good seafood. So there's a lot of good play on words and local fare at ball games. So really can't go wrong, especially if you're going to go outside the box and try a local food. I'm sure you can't go wrong at some ballparks.
And one last thing on this, and we'll wrap it up. When I went to Fenway years ago, they had clam chowder. Just, the hot dog guys that walk around with those giant carts of hot dogs, they had a clam chowder guy, which is absolutely epic. And their hot dogs were served on those East Coast lobster roll buns. Are you familiar with those? It's kind of like bread on each side, really, but it's a bun. I loved it. I thought it was fantastic.
No, yeah, definitely. I want to say I went there a couple of years ago to Fenway. I want to say they had lobster rolls, but at the same time they were probably like $20. So didn't go for those. But I mean, lobster rolls are solid.
I wouldn't be surprised if they did, but absolutely a safe play. If you find a 20 on the ground, I would absolutely go for that. But that's all we have for you guys today. We hope you got your dose of the NBA Finals talk as it heats up. Stanley Cup Finals end tonight, Copa America in full swing. Definitely tweet at us your top 5 ballpark foods. We'd love to have a little conversation with you guys, get involved, know who's listening, establish kind of a relationship with you guys so we can, make some more connections going forward, and tie a lot of Bloomington stuff into and making it more fun for you once we get back down there, which we're itching to get back. It's still over 2 months away, but we're definitely counting down the days. We can't wait. But for now, that just about does it this week. Be sure to follow us at the Hoosier Life, or you can find us through the Assembly Call Twitter feed, which you already follow. If you don't, you're making a mistake. Go do it. Don't forget to subscribe. You know how to do that. You know the drill. And we'll see you guys next week. Our Twitter handles are right there. That's me. Josh is at Josh Eastern, at the Hoosier Life. Give us a follow. We'll interact with you guys. We can't wait, and we'll see you next week.